We need something to talk about before we're actually live.
We need a
live. Yeah, we're live, but we're not really live. We're like pretend live until somebody's like watching us. Then we're really live. So far, we have no audience.
That's not how it works. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there's like a delay. I mean, we're like live with a delay. Okay, so basically nobody's watching.
That's okay.
Yeah. Oh, we have a watcher. A viewer. We have a viewer and we have one heart already.
I love it.
We're coming off this podcast like at a high note here.
They must know us. Hello, viewer, and everybody who joins.
Oh, I should look and see if I can see the chat. Oh, comment. Oh, we've got comments. Oh, it's Sherry and Amy and Jody. Hello.
I love it. So
I'm going to stop talking, Allison. Why don't you take it from here?
Hi, guys. This is the Jes and Allison show that has yet to be named. So we are currently calling it the show with no name. We're just kind of going to feel our way through this until we find words that we really like, and then that's going to be our name. So you're going to get to watch the process.
Lucky you.
Lucky you. We thought it would be so fun to start a show together because literally, I was like, hey, Jes, do you want to do a podcast? Because honestly, it's just so much fun to laugh with you. And I need more of that in my life. So we are starting this to...
Wait, and Allison knew that like I've been saying yes to everything this year. Like that's been a thing that I've been doing. So it's a pretty safe ask.
It's a very safe ask.
I say yes to everything. That's my like 2021 thing. Is like I'm just saying yes. I'm just saying yes to all opportunities. So
I love it.
Time to ask me for something.
It is a good time. So if you want to ask Jes for something, now's the time.
Yeah, because next year is going to be the year of no.
Yes, I love it. Try it out for a whole year. Like,
oh my gosh. So Susan says Marcy and McIntosh mindset minutes.
Whoa.
What is that called?
There is a word for that.
I knew it when I was teaching it.
Is it alliteration?
Alliteration.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Look at me on the spot. I love it.
Man, Allison, you are so smart.
I know.
All right. I'm going to stop talking. You're going to go now.
Okay. All right. So we wanted to have fun. Honestly, we're like, let's just have some fun at the end of the week. And also, we just have so much inside of our minds that can be useful for people. So why don't we just go like talk about it all while having fun and hanging out? And so this is our space to do that. And we're welcoming you all to join us in this space. And to give a little bit of an introduction to myself, I'm Allison McIntosh. I am a life coach. I specialize in reprogramming your brain and especially your feelings. I'm a big feelings worker because that is what I know backwards and forward. So I love talking about all the things that clutter up our brain and clutter up our internal world and just the whole, it's so fascinating to me. Our internal world is so fascinating to me. It's like bigger than the universe. So every single one of us has this crazy internal world happening. And that's the stuff that I love talking about. And it's just so happens that every time I talk with Jes, we're talking about the same things. It's like
our conversations never end. It's like, like, okay, I'm like, I have to go, but I'm going to keep talking, right? Like they just keep, because it's so fascinating. Yeah. And I mean, the other thing that I think is like really interesting is that what both you and I do is like, it's not always shown in a happy light. Like we do, right. There's a lot of like, it starts from a place of like overwhelm, right? Mm-hmm. Or despair almost. And I think when you said to me, like, I want to do this podcast and I want it to be happy and fun, I'm like, yes. Well, I said yes, because that's what I'm saying this year, but yes, because there is a whole other side to this that is happy and is fun. And we want to shine light on that.
Yeah. Yeah. We want to, like, the thing is, laughter is truly medicine. And being able to bring this stuff into a conversation that is just filled with laughter and like, let's even maybe poke a little fun at how hilarious life is and also work through it. that's the goal here. So we're just gonna have a lot of fun.
Yes, we're gonna have a lot of fun. And I totally interrupted I'm like the biggest interrupter ever, Allison. Maybe we can deep dive into that.
I actually don't mind it at all, because sometimes I'm like, I could just keep talking. Maybe you should stop me. That's kind of the introduction of me. So you introduce you.
Okay. So I am Jes Marcy. I am a clutter coach. And as a clutter coach and professional, I hate the term professional organizer because it conjures up images of like perfection. And there is no such thing as perfection. Ooh, I'm getting an echo all of a sudden.
I'm hearing a little bit of choppiness with your sound, but I don't know if it's just my computer. I don't know. I never know. I'm like, it could just be me.
Okay, well, we'll just wait. It sounds like it's echoing through your computer almost, but hold on.
Ooh, that's no good.
Ooh, echo from Jes. Let me go into my audio here.
I can also put on headphones if you think that might. I don't know. I never understand the echoes. Every time it happens, I just hope and pray it goes away.
Right. So we need prayers for the echo to cancel right now.
There is an echo. There's an echo from you.
An echo from me. Let me see when I have my echo cancellation on. Maybe I need to get my headphones too.
There's an echo cancellation?
Yes. I'm taking it off. Let's see if it's better. Okay, is it better now?
Yes.
Oh, weird.
Wait, am I echoing now?
No, you're not.
Oh my gosh, I'm echoing now.
All right. Okay. No, we don't have our phone going. All right. I know it wasn't like that at the start. This is like the amazing thing about this show. Things are going to change. Oh, now there's a terrible echo.
I'm echoing now too, Jes. What's happening?
All right. Let's take a 2-second break, and I'm going to get my earbuds or headphones. I don't even know if I have headphones. All right. Try your earbuds on. Oh, now Allison is echoing. You guys, here's the thing about doing podcasts and all this stuff is that it's all the tech is like crazy difficult. Oh, better now. Okay, hold on. No, I can't hear you at all. Wendy says we need earbuds. Wendy, you think both of us need earbuds or just Allison? Because I'm not really sure.
I'm still echoing. What is happening?
Are you? So talk some more. Oh, you are on your end.
On my end. Oh my gosh.
How come it was so good in the beginning? We're really off to a good start here. Well, I'm going to put the echo cancellation back on. Hold on. Echo cancellation back on. All right. Now try talking.
Okay. Okay, now I'm good. Are you good?
I think I'm good.
Happening?
I think we're good. From this point forward, if you hear an echo, just put it in the comments, because the more comments that we get, the more people are going to see this. So it says it's good now. All right.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So you guys just get to see us like fumble our way through to an awesome podcast, and we're going to have a good time.
Lucky you.
Lucky you.
Angie says you guys are better than coffee. Oh my gosh, I hate my coffee. Do you have your coffee? This is my favorite mug, and I use it so much that it gets washed infrequently. It's kind of gross. Do you think that's gross?
No. I think you gotta pick your battles.
I feel like there's a lot of acid in the things that I drink, so it probably kills germs. It's the germ food that I'm working on.
I do this too, where I'm like, that's probably not a big deal. I do that like with all kinds of things. It's probably fine.
I reason my way into any decision that I make. Like, I don't want to wash my coffee mug. That's okay, because coffee is full of acid, and acid kills germs.
Is the best.
Okay, so I think we're at the point where I was going to introduce myself.
I think we were.
I mean, it's possible in the future that this is going to be like the world's greatest podcast, and somebody's going to go back and watch this episode and be like, who is Jes and who is Allison? So And even though everyone who's watching us knows us, I'm still going to do a little intro for our future when we're huge.
Absolutely.
With no name.
Welcome, future listeners. We're so happy to have you.
Exactly. If you're watching this in 2025, leave us a comment. Hello, the future. So I'm Jes Marcy. I am a clutter coach. Okay. Oh, I know what I was saying. I hate the term professional organizer because it conjures up perfection, like this idea of like perfect bins and perfect organization and a life without problems. And that is not the way that I see the industry or my clients at all, right? That's so unrealistic. And also when you buy bins, you're just adding to your clutter, which makes absolutely no sense. So
your favorite rant.
I know. Oh, I could rant about that for hours and hours and hours. In fact, little side note, you'll see me comment on that in my upcoming, I'm in like an article in the Spruce that's coming up in a little while. And I go on and on about containers. I don't know if the reporter is going to put the entire thing in there, but she was like, I never thought about it like that before.
She's like, oh, this is the real thing.
So when I started working with clients, I realized that the clutter is actually like the issues that people have with clutter is not really about the stuff. And that was like a big aha moment for me. Like I need to totally tackle this from a completely different standpoint. And so much of it is mindset. And that's exactly what Allison talks about. So basically we're a match made in heaven.
We are. I feel like we should like do this little like, let me just, the
opposite. We can hit heads at the end of each show, Allison. Okay, we might start losing viewers if we don't move on with our topics here.
Let's do it. So we thought it would be fun to tell you guys a little bit.
We can high five.
Tell you, I'm so sorry if you're listening to this and not watching. We're like knocking our heads together and giving each other high fives. We thought it'd be fun to do a quick introduction and talk a little bit about, we can talk a little bit about how we got to know each other, but I think it's also fun to talk about how we started on our own journeys with all of this, learning how to even process all the stuff that we now do professionally. So why don't we go there a little bit? Why don't you tell us a little bit of your history?
You want to hear about when I was like super depressed and couldn't pull myself out of bed?
I mean, we can laugh about
it. There was like one holiday season that almost did me in. I mean, in retrospect, it's funny, but at the time it really wasn't that funny. But I distinctly remember like we had one Christmas and we hosted and like there were gifts. Like I had my girls are 11 and 14 now. Right. So they were really little. I was working full time. I've always had like a side gig going. Always. I mean, the list of businesses that I have started and shut down is quite lengthy. So I was working full time. I was like, I'm sure I had some side gig going. I don't know if it was like a flower girl dress rental business or maybe I don't know. I don't know what it was, but at that time, I also used to do like pop-up kids consignment sales with my sister-in-law. We had, I don't know, lots of different things. Yeah. Anyway, so we had like our whole extended families here. And it was like, I prepared for so long for this, like to have people staying here and the food and the gifts and the blah, 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 blah. And we had like a session opening gifts that lasted probably for like, I don't know, 5+ hours. I'm like, no. People started drinking like, because, it was a lot. And then everyone left. They all just left. Like, I mean, this is my memory. And the thing about memories is that there is no truth, right? There's no, when you think about like your past and your memories, it's only your truth. It's only your perspective. I think, and I grossly misquote numbers all the time because I can't keep like specific numbers in my head. So Allison, maybe you have like the actual accurate number here, but when we look at the world like through our eyes, I think we only see 1% of like what is available to see, right? Like maybe it's 5%, but it's like somewhere like less than 10%. I will say for sure. I think it's like 1%.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows the actual number, just pop it in the real number, pop it there. But we only take in like 1% of what like we're actually able to see, because our brains are processing things for our safety first and foremost. And like, that's the only thing our brains care about, is keeping us safe. So like when you apply that to a memory, you know, I only saw 1% of this holiday season, and the 1% that I saw is my memory, and everyone else who was there is going to have a completely different experience because they only saw their 1%, like literally visualized only their 1%. So in my mind, everyone left immediately. And I just remember I was left with like food and like all these presents, which of course there's so much gratitude for the ability to have so much, but it was too much for me. It was too much for me to handle. And I felt like this was like the, you know, the end result of all of this time and work was like a pile of, you know, just stuff, just like nothing that was, it felt like, and again, I don't want to say I'm not grateful, but it felt to me at this time, at this place in my life, like a massive weight, and like that I couldn't figure out how to get out from under. I'm like, this is what we're doing now. Like, everyone's gone and I have to deal with all this stuff. I wanted to see people and spend more time with people, but that's not how this ended up happening. And I basically like crawled into bed and cried for, I don't know, a lot of days. You know, and I mean, it was bad. It was not good. But that's when I realized that things really had to significantly shift, and I had to learn about boundaries and expectations and what made sense for me in my life. And that was the beginning of my path towards all of this. And really everything that I do with my clients and everyone who's in our programs is based on that episode and what happened after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my story.
I love it. I think it is really, really important to talk about our stories. And there are so many different points. Like I have a point that's like that in 2014. That was my year from hell. And I have like multiple points where, you know, I had progressed a little bit, but still was floundering. And I think it's really important to talk about all of those, because when you're on the other side of it and you're like trying to show people the way out, it's really easy to look like you just know what you're doing and have always known what you're doing. And you're like, no, hold on. Like literally I had to like walk through every single tiny little step to get any kind of comprehension. And this is just a product of that. Mine, if you want to hear about like my like dire straits time period.
Yes, I want to hear about your year from hell. That's why I tuned in today, actually.
That's why you tuned in. Same. So in 2014, I was pregnant with my third child, and my two older kids were 4 and 3. So they were little. And we were in this small little house. It was like this little brick ranch, and I had 2 big dogs. And so there was just like this, I remember, because the one was a like psycho dog. She's super great now, but she was psycho. And I remember they would be like the running laps, like they're running laps in this tiny little space, and the dogs would jump up on the couch and then down, and then the kids were chasing them, and the place was covered with Cheerios and dog fur, and I was like enormous, and I couldn't even move. And so that was like the physical side of all the stress. But then there was this whole emotional side of the stress, because my marriage was absolutely like crumbling and falling apart, but I had no idea why. Like I literally couldn't figure it out. We didn't communicate. Like there was this whole communication problem, this whole like just not being the same at all in how we process information. And then there was all these misunderstandings that we would both dwell on, and then it would, you know, escalate, that the other person doesn't realize the other person's thinking whatever. So it was just so much massive stress. And I apparently had an extremely high tolerance for stress because I just kept like asking for more of it. Like it was just like bring in more creatures, bring in more things, bring in more activities, just like
more babies. We need more babies.
More babies. It's just I do remember very specifically thinking, I have to grab at love. Like I just have to feel love and affection from somewhere because I was dying inside.
Did you get it from the dogs at least?
Nobody gave it to me. I got it. Well, actually, I got it from everybody, but it's how you said, you remember through your eyes. So my memory at that time was that I wasn't accepted. I was neglected. I was, everything was on me. And I also thought that that was like what I was supposed to be doing. Like I was supposed to be the person that held all these things together. And that was like my role. And I was just being totally crushed under the weight of it. Like to the point where I started having, well, so after I was pregnant with my first, I got postpartum anxiety, but it was like a low level and I was able to just kind of deal, even though it was like, oh, what is happening? After my second, I got really bad postpartum. And then with my third, it was like the postpartum hit in the mid pregnancy.
It was mid-partum.
It was like, what is happening? This is what I experienced after my second, but it was in the middle of the pregnancy. So I remember it being in summertime and it felt like I was having panic attacks left and right. And I'd never had panic attacks. Well, I'm with the postpartum I had, but it wasn't a thing I had experienced before in my life. So it was like my body was literally like, shut your face, you're done. Like you can't do this anymore. And I was like, what's happening? I don't understand what's happening. It felt like the entire world was like closing in on me. That's how I experienced panic attacks. Like I would be sitting in a room and it was, I'd always say it's like, you know, in Alice in Wonderland, when she like eats the food and she grows really big and like she can't fit in the house. That's how I felt all the time. I was like, the walls are closing in on me.
Allison in Ranchland.
Exactly what it was. I was like, and it would happen sometimes at 2 a.m. It could happen in the middle of the day. Like it didn't matter. There was no rhyme or reason. And I tried to go outside and I was like, the sky's closing in on me. It was just the most awful thing in the world. It was a really, really hard time. And it was, what was really happening is my body had been carrying and holding stress for so long that it was just totally shot. And I didn't, and I would have kept on going with it. But my body was like, you are done. We are done. We are not doing this anymore. And it wasn't just the pregnancy.
So important to listen to your body, right? It tells us so many things. And like, I don't know, we don't want to listen ever, but then all of a sudden we have to listen, right?
Yeah.
Like we have like a catastrophic thing. Where we're like, oh,
yeah.
I saw this coming. Like, why didn't I like listen? All the signs were there.
Yeah. Well, so that is when you become so like, okay, I don't know what to do about any of this. I have zero idea what's even happening, but something has to change.
Right.
Something has to change. So I like go to my OB and ended up like completely breaking down, like massive breaking down. She was like, okay. So here's this medication and I want you to go see a counselor. So that's how the whole journey began of even understanding, you know, how it all works together. Like the things that were happening internally inside of, it was all the suppressed feelings for years and years and years, all these suppressed thoughts for years and years and years. And like just this, it's like you talk about clutter. It was like all of it inside me all the time. And I was just thinking that I just had to somehow like live with it or process it. Like I wasn't doing something right. But so that is what opened the door to even understanding, okay, this is how you can actually look at reality. These are some of the things that happen in relationships. Oh yeah, that's a big thing that's happening in my relationship. These are some of the things that happen, you know, with our feelings. Oh yeah, that's all the things that are happening with me. And just kind of learning that we're not alone. Like we're never alone. And when there is chaos happening inside of us, the absolute best thing that we can ever do is reach out to people and get some third party interaction to process and start to understand the narrative of what's happening. When we're only seeing it through our own eyes, that's when it just spirals.
So do you feel like I so relate to everything that you're saying? And I never knew how to find the right help when I was like, you know, until I really searched, made an, like, I just felt like like what you're saying, like I didn't have a role model for this. Like there was nobody who said like, this is what you need to do next. It was kind of like, yeah, we're all in a bad situation. So
yeah,
like,
life sucks.
Yeah. Like life sucks. And this is how it is.
Yeah.
Like that. I never really thought too much about this until right now, but like, I don't know why do we feel like there's no, like, why do we feel like, why is that a thing? Like it's not, because that's not how it is. Like, yeah. Okay. I'm rambling.
So I think a big part of the reason why I didn't look for help before was because, I think it was shame. I think shame blocks us from everything, because I thought, my marriage is wrong. There's something very wrong here. And if I go talk to somebody about it, they're just going to tell me that I'm this person isn't right. And like, your option is to not be around it. And it didn't feel like that was the whole story. So I just assumed it was like something that I had to figure out. Otherwise I was going to be put in a position of trying to like pick some sides or be thrown into something that I didn't want to do. And it was just a lot of fear.
That's so true, because when I think about back on that time, like if I had talked to somebody about my husband, they would be like, oh my God, you got to get out of this relationship. But my husband is an amazing person.
Right.
And that wouldn't have come through in the spot that I was.
Right. Exactly.
It would have sounded a little different.
Right. So, and I think that, we all come with different experiences, depending on what our friendships had looked like up until that point, and like how we feel like we can share or what we might expect. And we're always trying to like, our brain is always trying to save us, right? So if there's even a thought that if you go talk to that person, it's going to look like this, you're going to feel these things you don't want to feel, and don't go there, because that just sounds like a terrible idea.
Right.
Yeah.
We have a lot of preconceived notions that we work with.
Yeah, so many. Yeah.
We have a lot of comments that this is resonating with our 19 viewers.
Good. Awesome. Yeah. So I think it's just really a good thing to remember that everybody starts with this whole like mess, right? We all have a mess that's specific to us, but they all have similarities. Like they're all kind of coming from some basic stories that are happening inside of us as humans. And the big broad scope of everything is that there's this common humanity where we're all dealing with thoughts. We're all dealing with feelings. We're all dealing with relationships and connection and how we see each other. And there's so much, there's just so much to learn. There's so much to learn. And don't get like, if you have a fear of reaching out or finding somebody to talk to, it's always going to feel scary. It's always going to feel like something that you maybe want to avoid. And if you just take the step and trust that everything that you try to step into, like any time you try to like go and if you were to go to a counselor or a therapist or work with a life coach or work with a clutter coach or any of these things, anything that you step into, you're going to get whatever information you needed at that time, and it's going to build, and we'll all start to make this shift. Everything happens in really these small shifts that you can see. Like this is in 2014. I'm like so beyond a different person than I was in 2014, but there were still these stages all along the way that I was shifting, right?
And continuing to shift. I mean, like, I feel like, I had so many shifts, right? And like right now I'm like on the brink of like more massive shifts as I continue to grow as a person, which means it's still difficult. There's still things that happen, right?
Yeah,
but
it will always be.
Oh my gosh. So we do want to be respectful of everyone's time. Allison and I were thinking that we would try and stick this to around 30 minutes.
We're at 30 minutes.
And we're at 28:59. We could go on forever. But so, and if you guys are listening and you have some thoughts and suggestions, we do want to kind of come up with like a format for our show, like, some formula. Otherwise, we'll just be talking forever. I like, but
not necessarily a bad thing.
So in the comments, if you have any ideas, like how, like, would you like to see like mindset minutes with Allison, or like, like, I don't know. I'm just kind of making this stuff up. We also need a name. I mean, the show needs some structure. It needs some name. It needs, I actually kind of like the show with no name. I don't want to have an identity for this show.
And also, here's the thing. I think stories are how we communicate at, like, just all around. Like, that's the thing that people that we all can get each other on.
Allison, I'm writing this down. I just want you to know I'm taking notes, because for our first guest that we have next week, whoever that's going to be, we're going to start by asking them their story. That's a really good place to start. Okay.
Yeah. Stories.
One story about your life. Okay.
Yes. So good.
I'm writing it. Now it's happening.
Yes. We're gonna, like, just by the end of this, maybe we're just gonna do this for, I don't know how long we're gonna do this, but at some point pretty soon we're gonna be like all streamlined, and we're like, hey, remember when we had no structure? Great.
You mean in 2025?
Yes. To our future.
We should plan our celebration party right now for 4 years from now. Our 4 years. I don't know why 2025 is coming to mind, but like, let's get that date on the calendar so that we have something to look forward to.
You say that you're so last minute for everything. It's going to plan for 4 years from now, a party.
I am so last minute. Allison texted me. She's like, should I be in the like the StreamYard room for 10 minutes early? I was like, wait, I'm getting dressed 10 minutes before it starts. Like, I am so last minute with everything. So this is how that works. I will plan a party for 2024, and one day beforehand, I will like figure out the details. Like,
but actually, that's actually kind of what I do too, because if I just think about it ahead of time, then my brain's already kind of background doing the work, and I'm like, I don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to show up right at the time, and it'll be there.
Yeah, I do have like a lot of faith that things are just going to work out, and that's, I think, why I can afford to be so last minute, because, well, number one, I'm not like connected to outcomes. Like, I really don't care how things, like, how they actually happen. I just kind of put it out there to make it happen. And then I'm like totally open to like all possibilities, because I don't want to be like, I'm not micromanaging at all. I hate micromanaging stuff. Like, ugh.
Yeah. This is something we need to talk, like, just spend a couple minutes on, because I think this is really, really helpful for people.
Okay.
I told Jes that I really love talking about attachments. In her world, the word is clutter. In my world, it's like all the things going on inside of you. But it always comes down to the things that we are attached to, that's making us feel stuck or imprisoned or weighed down or heavy, whatever those things are. And outcomes is one of the top ones that we all struggle with. So just you even saying that you can, like, unattach, and also I use the word unattach and not detach because I have a thing about that. So I know it's not actually a word, but I'm going to use it.
Wait, do you have an attachment thing about the word attachment?
No, like, when I think, I'm such a word geek. Like, words really mean a lot to me, and I think they affect all of us really individually. But when I think of the word detach, I feel like cold and like disassociated.
I totally
yeah. So I like the idea of, like, instead of using that word, I'm like, I'm going to just, like, very nicely, like, unstitch myself and unattach from something. Because I still care about this thing. I still care about this thing. It's like all internally what's happening. So
you're totally detaching from the word detachment.
I am.
All right, moving
on. The idea of you even being able to say, I am not attached to the outcome, is something that probably just even saying that is can sit as a possibility in the back of our listeners' head. Like, so even if you're like, oh, I don't feel like that at all, just think about it. Like, for a minute, somebody out there, Jes Marcy and Allison, are learning how to not be attached to outcomes, which means you can also, because when we are allow ourselves to let outcomes just be this magical experiment. Let's just see what happens, because I'm going to be okay no matter what. My okayness doesn't depend on this looking exactly like the script I have planned, right? That is where life starts to get totally magical. And I think it's so cool that you said that.
But okay, here's another perspective, because for years, my detachment to outcomes, I viewed that as a negative, because I felt like that meant that I didn't really care. But it doesn't mean that at all. I care so deeply. And this is something I had to learn about myself. Like, I care so deeply about things. I'm just so excited about any like new possibility in life. And that's where my detachment from the outcome comes from, is like, who knows what's going to happen? And like, and if I dictate that I want this to be like XYZ, then I'm like closing off so many possibilibilities that I don't even know about. But like, for so long, I would think of that as like, you just don't care. Like, you don't care. Like, it's just, you know, so you could look at any positive thing and make it negative. And you can look at any negative thing and make it positive. It's just, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You told
mindset.
it is mindset. And it's also this idea that, like, there's a couple different ways to think about life and the things that happen to us. And if we're very attached to like something looking exactly how we think it should, it's sort of this idea that, we're not safe. We're not safe and we're not cared for. And so we have to really grab at and like make sure this thing works so that we can feel that. And when we're learning to release that need, we're stepping more into this trust that maybe we are cared for, and maybe there is abundance, and maybe this is for us and not against us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a totally different energy to live out of.
Yeah. And it's a fun energy too.
So fun.
It's so fun. I mean, all right, we'll save this story for another day, but I have lots of stories of going wandering in the woods and having crazy things happen that have been like amazing.
No, we're not saving this for another day. Are you kidding me? Now I have to know what this is.
I mean, so I go backpacking, right? I love to backpack. And like, basically you pack all your stuff. And I didn't always love to backpack. I was like scared, you know what, of backpack. I'm trying to not curse too much, because then we're not going to be allowed on Apple Podcasts. So I was scared, you know what, of backpacking. But that was one of like the things that I pushed myself to do, because I wanted to have personal growth. And I felt like one way that you can experience personal growth is to like shove yourself outside of your comfort zone. Like, just, you know, so I planned a 2-week backpacking trip across the Adirondack Park, and with, you know, like, I'd never done, I mean, no experience, nothing. And I took people with me who had never done this before either. And there was no cell service, and, you know, all the things. But like, basically, you know, that was pretty well planned. Like, we had like stops and whatever. But since then, I don't attach, like, if I'm going on like a 50-mile backpacking trip, I don't care if I actually make it the 50 miles, or if I have to, like, I don't care what happens, because you, like, when you're out in this just wilderness, I mean, attaching outcomes to anything is a little silly, because, and, you know, at any point you might have to like turn back or whatever. But so I went on a 50-mile backpacking trip. We didn't make it the 50 miles. We went like 35, but it was like a disaster. Like, the weather was horrible. The bugs were terrible, you know, whatever. But we ended up, like, when we decided to bail, we started walking like towards this lake, basically. And we ran into these 2 fishermen who had a boat, and they were like, "Oh, we'll give you a boat ride back to, you know, town." And my friend Natalie, who I was with, she's like, "Oh my God, they're going to kill us." I'm like, "No, they're just actually like nice fishermen who are like doing us a huge favor, like open to all outcomes." Right. And it turns out they were like maple syrup maple syrup makers called farmers. They were maple syrup producers. And like, we had an amazing experience talking with them. And their car had a lot of dog hair in it. I'm like, see, they're good people. Like,
dog hair, good people.
Like, dog hair in your car, you're a good person. Like, you're a dog person. Like, you know, yes. I'm a dog person. Like,
yes.
That's how I convinced Natalie to get into the car. I'm like, "Natalie, dog hair." She's like, "Oh, okay."
Hilarious.
I mean, I could go on and on, but like that's, basically like you just never know who you're going to meet, how things are going to happen. Like, and I think being open to those possibilities that's what life is. It's like these incredible experiences that you can then weave together. So.
Yes. Beautiful. I love it. I think that's an excellent place to end at.
All right. So tune in next week.
Yes.
We need a musical thing. Marie's on here. Marie, can you make us like a musical, because you play instruments, so obviously you can do like I have no musical talent whatsoever.
There's like little like
somebody who's watching.
We can find like little audio clips or something.
What's that?
We can find, I think my connection, I don't know I have to figure out my internet before next week.
Marie said she's on it.
Oh, yeah. Okay then.
Great. What's my other little tip for life? Ask and you shall receive.
Beautiful. I love it. Totally love it.
Allison, I'm so grateful to you for asking me to do this podcast.
Yes, I'm so grateful for you for doing it with me.
I'm excited for the future of the show with no name.
Me too. It's just going to be so much fun. Such a great end of the week.
It is. It really, really is. I feel like so happy and excited right now. Laughter therapy. This is what the doctor ordered. So if you're at work and you're tuning in, just tell your boss, like, this is medical. Okay.
Yes. Laughter therapy might need to be written down on a list of options for names. We'll just keep a running list.
Do you think there might already be a podcast with that name? But we'll look. We'll look.
It doesn't matter.
I like that.
I don't care.
Therapy. We'll call it better laughter therapy.
Better laughter therapy.
Laughter therapy +1. Better than yours. It's free. Amy says, yeah, laughter therapy is free. That's right. Exactly.
So I love it. So good.
All right, Allison. So next week, you know how I told my story about how my coffee mug is clean because coffee has a lot of acid in it?
I do.
I want to hear a story that you tell yourself to justify a behavior that's like completely ridiculous. I think that should be one thing that we do on the show every week is like, I justify doing this with this like absurd.
Yes. Yes, I think that's a great idea. I'm going to think about it because I'm sure I have several.
All right.
Write
Until next week, we're sending love and light out to everybody. And hey, go shift your perspective. Detach.
Yes.
Unattached. We should call this unattached. Another name.
Right now.
Unattached laughter therapy.
I love it. We'll just like put all the words. It'll be like
exactly. I want to keep adding a word a week.
A word a week. We'll just keep adding it onto the design. Get lots of scrollies all over.
Oh, head bump. Marie says we have to head bump. So we got to go this.
Yeah, I did it.
All right. Bye, everyone. We love you.
Bye.